from today?
Me, I'm based just outside London, so I'm in sunny, rainy Essex right now, where the weather is very temperamental. So yeah, that's my location.
I wouldn't expect anything else from the UK though, right?
Oh, come on, you can't start off like that. You gotta give us a chance to kind of to weed that in, right?
I mean, I was in England this last week and I had to leave because it was just raining cats and dogs nonstop.
Yeah, we kind of skipped July this year. We gave in.
How about you,
We,
Stephen?
yeah, I'm calling it just outside of Dublin here in Ireland, and yeah, much like Hannah, it hasn't stopped raining. Where is the summer? I don't know. Um, so I worked the Nordic market, and a colleague of mine is Finnish, and he said he was home. So Finland, typical snow. That's what we expect. It's further north, but lovely sunny weather. Come back to Ireland, and it's rained nothing since for him. So yeah,
Well,
hopefully
let's hope there's
August.
better days ahead of us and we do get a bit of that summer heat that we were so looking forward to. But just looking at the time, we're just past 4 o'clock, so I guess we can get started with today's call. So, hi everyone, welcome to this webinar by Dealfront. Summer, the season of out of office replies, fewer close won deals, and the season your sales leaders just wish we could skip and get to September already. But unfortunately, we can't. So, whilst it may not be business as usual, there are mindsets that one can adopt, strategies that you can employ, and initiatives that you can take on board to mitigate the risk or the impact the season has on results. And before I give it over to our panelists for a chance to introduce themselves, I'd like to just remind you all that this webinar is really what you make of it. So if you have any questions, anything that comes to mind related to the topic of this webinar, just use the comment section, whether that's on the right or underneath, depending on where you're catching this webinar from, and we'll get to them throughout the webinar. So without further ado, let's give it up for our speakers. And I'd like to test something a little bit different, something new. Once you've introduced yourselves, speakers, could you just also answer what would you do if you had a completely free day? This was an idea that was submitted by my colleague Stephen Brennan in our partnerships team, and I really liked it. So who's going first? We start with Hannah in alphabetical order.
Yeah, sure. So, thank you. Firstly, thank you for inviting me on. It's always great when people invite me on because I talk a lot. I talk way too much all the time. So just feel free to like shut me down or mute me. But really glad to be here. So I'm the CEO and founder of Revenue Funnel, a go-to-market consulting firm. I'm a career salesperson. I've only ever done that over the last 15 years. Started off wanting to be a youth worker and solve crime. But now I'm just solving sales things. So so I'm still getting to solve problems. It's still great. But today I work with high growth organizations on how they can better align themselves with the buyer journey so they can make more money. So yeah, that's me. And if I had a free day, I'd take my son out of a holiday club and we'd probably just jump from train to train all around as far as we can get in 24 hours from London into wider Europe. We'll just keep going, like just jumping the trains, paying, of course, but jumping the trains and just seeing where we land. That's what I do.
What a lovely idea. Sounds awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, and then I think alphabetically puts me next. Hi everyone, my name is Stephen Brady. I'm a sales team lead here at HubSpot, much like Hannah, career salesperson, doing the full sales cycle. HubSpot, for those of you who don't know, obviously all-in-one solution, helping marketing, sales, service teams all work together. Looking forward to today's call and getting to see what everybody wants to, how we can all beat summer together. And then Deepak, I'm glad, Hannah, you said there, take your son out. I have two little girls. So I was like, is a free day me like not having them to deal with? Or should I like bring them into my free day wonderful plans? But yeah, it probably would be a family day. The weather would be nicer than it's been here for a very wet July and a still wet August. But yeah, probably simple stuff. A 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, a nice picnic, walk through the forest, point out at imaginary monsters that my 3-year-old has seen and agree with her. And then, get them to bed early so then me and my wife can have a nice takeaway and chill out. So boring, but honestly would love a quiet day like that.
Very nice. Not boring at all. Very nice. How about you, Yuri?
Hey, what's up, everybody? First of all, can you hear me well? All right, cool. Well, I'm leading business growth at Woodpecker. Pretty much is full cycle sales, inbound and outbound, and a little bit of personal branding on social sales on LinkedIn. Been in sales for 7 years, and quite a journey. Quite a lot of things have changed. Things have started happening that I couldn't predict that they would be happening. And answering your question, Deepak, probably I would spend the day the way I do it right now. I'm currently in Barcelona, so just go to somewhere to see, then enjoy the tapas at evening, have a little sleep, and a little nap during the afternoon, go to the sea. I'll probably do it the same.
Got you right there, Yuri. Just spare us the details.
All right, I won't. I won't be sharing anymore.
Cool. Well, it's awesome to have you on this call today, and I guess we can get going with the first question. So, say you're an SDR or an AE who's listening. You're looking ahead at your calendar, preparing for the summer, and we've all heard the saying, right? If you fail to prepare, you are preparing yourself to fail. So, where do you start, and how do you set yourself up for success for the summer months? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure if that's just open to the floor and we're all going to fight to be first speaker, but yeah, I think it is a little of prepare to fail, fail to prepare. And there's no good now after what July is, but something I've learned over my years is that I also took vacation in July, and we all have the habit of, I'll get through this week, and then it's only a few days until I'm on holiday, so I'll take the foot off the gas. I've loads of pipeline to finish off this month, and then I'll worry about next month. But the problem is it stops, and when you come back, then if your contacts are all on vacation, if they're all off, the deals you are working, if you haven't already communicated when they're going to be off, who is the next contact to continue this running, you come back to a lot of out of offices and a lot of people on the beach ignoring your email. So for me, it is that it's knowing that deals I have open, make sure that there's an out of office plan almost. So like, when are you going on vacation? Here's when I am. Who will I be able to communicate with while you're off? And our mutual action plan of what dates we've set out for, installation to finalizing the technical questions, whatever it may be, that we account for that, and we can put in there that, yeah, we're going to be on vacation.
Awesome. How about Hannah? Would you do anything differently there?
Yeah, so if I put my SDR cap on, and I was the equivalent of an SDR in like 2008, right? So we didn't really send emails and stuff. But if I was putting my SDR hat on now, what I do is I try to get creative and think, okay, so I'm not going to get to have much FaceTime, like that kind of synchronous communication with the people that I'm outbounding. So I'm going to get creative. And what I would do is I'd continue on, I'd message everyone that I plan to in my list. If I had 50 contacts, 100 contacts, whatever it is, I'd message all of them in the aim of not trying to book a meeting or anything like that, but literally to get their out of office response. So, and what I do with that is I take all of their out of offices and use that for my research when I call them back in September. To just be like, I hope you had time, you enjoyed time with your family, you said in your out of office. So I'd use that as a kind of door opener, probably for my email communications as well. And if I was going to take it to the next level, I'd create like a LinkedIn post that's like, hey, the top 5 out of offices that I received in the over summer, and just kind of like have that as another copy link to post and send it to my prospects in September to be like, hey, I'm not sure if you saw this, but you made the list. I just think we got to get creative now. We literally know that we're not going to be able to have those synchronous communications. And if we want to, people are they're tapped out. They're kind of here, right? But you're like 3 more days to the holiday. Like Steven's like trying to get out of all of the emails and all the things that he's still got in his auto sync, right? And he's in his diary. So we want to try and do what we can to just, what information can I gather asynchronously to leverage that and really go hard in September. That's what I do.
That's a great tip, and something that has worked really well for me is also looking at those out of office replies and engaging in multi-threading with other individuals who are mentioned there, because we've all heard it, right? The decision making process is getting longer. People are a little bit more cautious with their money. No one wants to be that person who pulls the trigger and decides to buy something only to have it come back and haunt them later on. And that multi-threading has helped me kind of get that buy-in from other stakeholders in the company. And then when that individual is back, who's my champion, just makes that deal a lot more smoother to engage in, and my chances of converting that deal just increase exponentially as well. So yeah, definitely a great tip there. How about you, Reed?
I would 100% agree with Hannah. What I'm usually doing is I'm just sending a bunch of emails, seeing the dates when they are back, trying to get back at that time, just asking like, "Yo, hope you had a great vacation." What I've also started doing the past year, I've started posting regularly. It's quite an interesting thing. People try to ignore looking at their emails, but they still hang out on LinkedIn.
They do, yeah.
And like this 95/5 rule is that you just like I'll keep rolling the content. I'll keep just posting on a daily basis, and sometimes I see them dropping a like to me, and like, oh, cool, nice, and that could be used as a conversation starter. But I understand that posting on LinkedIn is not for everyone. It's hard. It's pretty much a different part job that not every rep is suited to do. So I would just say like just go with the emails. Try to just what I also do. I just wishing them having like a nice vacation. If I'm knowing that they're going to vacation before I send that out of office, like before I receive that email, just wish them like nice vacations. And if I don't know and I get the out of office email, I'll try to get back as soon as I can when they're back. That's it.
Nice.
Good tips. And like you said, yeah, posting on LinkedIn is not for everyone, but we actually have a really good guide on our Dealfront blog that covers exactly how an SDR or an AE can get started with social selling, like from the very early on with the basic steps. So if you are interested in that, just head over to our blog and just look for that there. It should be there as one of the top featured guides that we currently have on there. But yeah, the second question we had from our audience here. So we've mentioned out of office replies quite frequently now throughout the short discussion that we've had. And these replies and rejections, because they are still not yeses, right, will inevitably have or take a hit on one's morale. Like, how do you keep yourselves motivated, speaking on your personal experience?
I'd say so what I was saying at the front end of the out of office thing is just knowing what your objective is. So if you have the objective of trying to book a meeting throughout the whole of August, you are going to get your heart broken. Like you will book some. Like don't go out and tell your manager, Hannah said you can't book meetings in August. I don't want to get in trouble, right? But if you switch your mindset to one of information gathering or one of learning or one of informing and educating, to Yuri's point, LinkedIn's a habit for a lot of people. I know there's only a very small portion of individuals who are active, like who post, like maybe 1 to 3% of the entire population, but a lot of people are passive consumers of information. So when that kind of like that family timeout kind of like, okay, I need to zone out for a second, or like you're just browsing and I don't know, you do that thing where you're like, you go into LinkedIn and it's just habitual. You don't even know you're doing it and you're consuming information, or you check your emails that you said to yourself you're not going to do it. You won't respond, but you might just open it. So I switched my mindset to say, let me focus on actually just trying to inform. Let me educate. And that's my SDR cap. If it's an AE piece, I think I'm really in line with what Yuri's thinking about and what you were saying about the multi-threading, because you're going to have people that come up in that. But I'm very much a planner. So I'd be trying to do some expectation setting. So with the person that's going to be out of office, I'd be saying, hey, there's 2 tasks that we need to complete over the next 3 or 4 weeks. I know you're out. Who's going to be the person I need to engage with, and just kind of do that planning. So shift your mindset, expectation setting, and change your objectives during August. I think that just helps with the heartbreak.
Lots of good tips there. Stephen, Yuri, would you add anything else to that?
I know for myself, sorry, Yuri, if you were looking to go there, just on the forward planning, like you get the out of office, they're on the beach for the next 2 weeks or wherever they are. There's nothing you can do. You cannot contact them. I myself make sure that my own work email, and if my manager's on listening, but I make sure it doesn't auto sync. Now it does, and I still see all my emails. But when I'm on vacation, I don't want to be just about to sit down with a beer and all of a sudden I see a customer telling me they're not moving forward, or there's been a challenge or an issue. So I don't. But I don't turn off my LinkedIn notifications. I still see them. I still get messages in through there, and you're scrolling social. It's a habit for us all. You do it in the evening. For me, it is the mindset piece of it's like, right, almost every no you get is one step closer to a yes almost. But when I have those dates of I'm out of office until the 20th of August, it's like, right, a task goes into my CRM to say on the 21st, send this person, hey, I hope you're back from vacation, you're not missing the barbecue, or you've been able to pull yourself away from the beach or from the sun and the office isn't too, some sort of humor, and then try to book that meeting. So I'm always forward thinking of, look, I can't get it now, but I'll know when they're back. I know they've been on vacation, so it gives me some small talk to kind of cold open them a little bit warmer then.
Yeah, I love that point of humor. Is like good quality humor never hurt any rep. So sending like a fun meme on LinkedIn about out of office to something kind of pointed out to what Hannah mentioned about like top 5 out of office replies I've got, but just like post it on LinkedIn. Hopefully they see that. But I think it's just a perfect time to not overthink and to prepare for the next 2 weeks. So uh, the rule that I always get to my sales reps is always be prospecting. Just prospect, find the best prospect to contact right now or in 2 weeks. If you are posted on social, it's the perfect time to sit down for a couple of days, prepare the nice cadences of posts, write that stuff, engage on networking on LinkedIn with people who are active there. Just kind of what Hannah touches, like just switch your targets towards not booked meetings, but producing quality research, quality prospecting, and spend a little time over there. Get back to prospecting, see if your prospects are back because it's not the case that every prospect goes on vacation in August. A lot of them go in June, like end of June, July, through the whole of July. Some go in the middle of September. So you have a lot of time to contact. And what I'm doing is just like I'm spreading a couple of days for research preparation, and then just kind of reach out, see who's back, and start those conversations. So just don't overthink too much.
Great points there too as well. And going back to a point that I referenced to earlier, when I spoke about how decision-making processes are taking longer, individuals are a little bit more cautious with their spending, and not to mention a looming recession that we have ahead. How has the summer of 2023 treated all of you so far? Have you noticed any new trends emerging? Anything that has required you to maybe adjust slightly your approach or your strategies to maybe be a bit more effective?
Yeah. The thing that I've observed lately is CFO is the buyer now, not the C level. Like you need to involve the CFO as fast as possible to see what his objectives are, and try to figure out a firefight from there. All-in-one solutions are having like an advantage right now compared to specialized solutions. Like when a CFO looks like I don't want to spend like 3 to 4 different tools. Just give me one. So this is where HubSpot definitely takes like a half portion of the market because these are the times. The vitamins are not really working right now. You need painkillers. You need solutions that are must-haves, not nice to have. And the current things that are happening in the market, obviously companies are focusing on freezing hiring and retaining the talent that they have and optimizing costs. So, I mean, those are the main things that you have to fight with. And the best way to understand what the organization is fighting for is not going and listening to the podcast from like a half a year ago, but try to go below the line, um, get in touch with some reps, ask what are the current challenges, and then go use that information and go above the line, contact C level, CFO, and say like, hey, I've done this research, and see where it takes you.
And thank you for the plug as well, Yuri. Obviously, yeah. From the HubSpot side, and I suppose more my individual, I can say this is my third summer now with HubSpot. Obviously, selling for many summers, but to see the differences from when I started, say 2020, to now, I think definitely who holds the budget. Before, like it might have been the chief marketing officer who was looking at marketing, or sometimes even the marketing manager, because they had their budget, and as long as they stayed within that budget, they were able to really make the decision on what they needed to use. But now it's more of a strategic purchase when they're looking, so it goes higher up the chain. What I'm also seeing, and the out of offices tie into that as well, where you're like multi-threading across the business, I'm seeing that if I get somebody's out of office, quick look on LinkedIn, see what their title is, being the all-in-one. If they're marketing, sales, service, even if they're operations, I can generally pitch to them as well and give them a little bit there and bring more people on board for exactly like you already said, consolidate your costs, get rid of the 3 or 4 different tools you're using, and then go with one. If you have one, you have more bargaining power. We can do different bundles and specials. But yeah, I'm finding that it's going higher up the ladder, but because of that, we're able to expand our usage then into the different teams, whereas before it might have just been very siloed.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with both Yuri and Stephen. I think for me, so I'm not in the same position as like Yuri, we're kind of proactively out there selling. I just talk a lot, and hopefully customers say, "Oh, Hannah, I like what you're saying. Let's work together." But in the situations where I am in any sort of like sales engagements, what I'm noticing from clients and also some of the conversations I've had is that people are really a lot of prospects right now. So the CFO thing, without a doubt. But there's a lot of like, there's a lot of like FOMO. So you think about the jolt effects, so like fear of messing up. There's like, I don't want to be the person who does this and it doesn't go to plan. And then they're looking at all of the million things that they now have to do because some of their team are no longer there. You know, they're doing more with less. So I'm seeing a lot of that. So people are a bit like, is it now the right time? The other thing that I'm seeing is there's a lot of they're really trying to fight to secure their portion of the budget. There's a lot of internal like, Hannah, and what else? What other, I have this question. What else can I say here? What else can I say? So there's a lot of from a rep perspective, what I'd be focusing on is really doing everything I can to make the decision really logical, even if that is a no, which means you have to do that additional legwork, and most reps won't. So if you do it, you'll stand out immediately. To do that extra legwork to really say, what do I think my buyer is going to need from me right now to say yes to these, maybe it's the next few steps in this decision-making cycle. So I'm seeing a lot more of, I need your help. Like, here's the business case I have, shared screen, let's go for it together. What else am I missing? How would I help my CFO not have any more questions? So there's a lot more of that than I've seen like in the last few years.
I think that's absolutely key, just understanding how companies buy and having a better understanding of that process that it takes place behind the scenes. I think that's a big differentiator from a star AE versus a regular one who's just trying to sell to anyone. So yeah, some great tips across the board there. We have a question from the audience as well. It seems like it's a common objection that we're all used to hearing. The timing is not good, and we'll revisit in September. How do we overcome this objection?
That's been an objection for the last 15 years. Nothing's changed. Stephen, I know you're going to jump in there. Sorry for, I think we.
Not at all, no.
I think so firstly, I'm not a big fan of using the term objection. I just feel like it's a response. Someone's responding to something, and you just got to work out the best way to kind of handle and manage that. The big thing for me when people say stuff like that is really just trying to understand if they mean that literally. So I'm very much, of course, you want to explore that a bit further. So really understanding, what's the situation going to be in September in comparison to today, that kind of thing. You were really direct when you said September. Is there something happening in the business at that time? And what you find is that it's actually October. it's not September, but September was just the thing that's the easiest to respond with. So just helping a buyer really think that through and just say, listen, it's September. And I'm a big fan of qualifying out or trying to get them to sell to me. It's not even intentionally, but it's just because I really want to be, I really want to own my time. I just don't want to waste it. So the big thing for me is really trying to figure out at that point, like, you're away. You're away. You said your first day back is the first week of September. So you're going to have 300 emails and then all these meetings that have shown up and some customer fires. When are you realistically going to give this time? So, and this is, again, caveat, it really depends on where you are in the sales process, right? It might be really early on, so that makes sense. If it's at a later date, it's really just understanding, of course, is there going to be a huge impact if they do delay it? Don't force them and try and use all these tactics. If there's not, then your deadline, that fabricated deadline and urgency that you're trying to create is not going to work. So I always just say, be the person that's going to support them so you can secure that at the time that it really matters to them. And then you kind of start to earn some credibility around, setting expectations, holding them accountable. But if they're literally like, bro, I'm out. Like I don't care. Don't try and force them. I just think those tactics, everyone's over it. They're completely over it.
The bit I was just going to say, I think look, Hannah's experience, I think, is starting to show itself. Really, just answered everything I was going to say. Again, depending on like you said, the stage of it. Is it your first time kind of reaching out and it's just a gut reaction? Like we've all gone into a shop and it says somebody comes over and it's like, "Hey, can I help you with anything?" You're like, "No, just having a look around." And then 2 minutes later, you're over them asking them a question. Have you got this and this size of that? It's a gut reaction. We don't want to feel like we're about to get pitched to. So is that what it is, or is September good? What's going to be different in September? Why September? Why not now? And then if you find out, look, someone's on vacation, or we have a decision at the end of the month, or a contract is up, then they're legitimate reasons. Something to tie back to the previous question as well. I do think, yeah, we all like, whether you're on a monthly or quarterly kind of sales goal ourselves, we're trying to get it in, and we have this promotion or offer or what's available. I think their timeline now and that fear of messing up and choosing the wrong one, they're really analyzing everything. So if they tell you September, maybe it is September. Talk to them, understand their timeline, and ultimately, yeah, like just find out why that gut reaction was a not now.
Yeah, there's really not much to add after Hannah's response, and then Steven kind of put the cherry on top. And I'll just say it's not really about overcoming the objection. Is just asking the right question to understand where is the objection is coming from. So, like Hannah said, it's like when somebody's going to say like, "Hey, just let's get back in contact in September." Like, cool. Like, I understand completely. Just curious, what's happening during those 3 months? Like, just that, or if the budget is not there or something like that kind of objection, just like, all right, gotcha. Like, just budget aside, if that like even like relatively close to a priority this year, what we are talking about. So it's all about asking those questions and not being annoying. Everybody's done with those sales tactics, and it's not it's not like we are learning. It's an open field for everybody. It's a lot of people haven't seen those approaches. It's the fact that we are sick of those new tactics. So it's just being authentic, and especially in age of AI, it's what really matters.
I just wanted to add sprinkles on top of the cherry that Stephen added, and Yuri as well, because I think this is really important distinction between that response and that curiosity driven response and that objection handling, right? Because sometimes there are really, really valid reasons why someone is saying there's a certain date. Without asking those questions, all you're trying to do is keep them to this date that works for you. So you can imagine speaking to a senior leader and saying, if you I thought you cared about this, all these weird objection handling techniques. When we've spoken for the last 3 months, you said that, it's costing you, £200,000 a day if you go. And it's like, if you just ask the question of, tell me, what's happening in September. Oh, we actually have a new CMO starting in September. And they love the platform, but they'd love to understand a bit more about the package that we're buying, or like we've already spoken to them about it. Then it's like, I get it. It's such a valid reason for why it should happen at a later date. But you then look like an idiot if you are there trying to really just slam them. So I just think that don't underestimate the importance of that curiosity piece, because it really can change your credibility in the moment, in how you handle that. Sprinkles.
Very valuable sprinkles there.
There we go.
Yuri mentioned AI, and I want to just touch base on that. Have any of you employed the use of AI in your strategies and your tactics? Just because I see it mentioned everywhere, right? Like it's almost like a buzzword, AI everywhere you look. Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, I'll add that thing. I see a AI post on LinkedIn everywhere just because of the fact of the hype. You write about AI, it's like, oh, you're talking about doing a triple backflip. I don't know how I can do that, but so show me how to. And a lot of people don't know stuff about AI. They just see like somebody's writing about AI, and this seems like a valid source. But when you start reading about it, it turns a lot of garbage. So don't take a lot of 90% of the posts about AI on LinkedIn. Just take them with a pinch of salt. There are like really a few experts who know how to implement AI into sales process, because a lot of things which you're seeing on LinkedIn is like, hey, just use ChatGPT for writing your cold emails. Like, yeah, but have you actually tried writing a prompt to write in a cold email that actually works? The prompt turns out to be like this much, and you need to sometimes you need just to buy that prompt from the person who written that. So, but if you can write a prompt that will generate you great cold emails, which is extremely hard in ChatGPT, you can use that for just to kind of tweak your emails a little bit to for a rewrite process. Because what I like to do, I like to rewrite my cold emails. Like, I know when somebody hasn't opened my cold email, like my first great cold email that I've put a lot of research into, and I know that I haven't opened that. So why would I send like a bump email? I'll just rewrite that my first email slightly and send it once again. So there are AI tools that can allow you to do that. Not even ChatGPT, but other ones. Um, what I'd say also, you you can play with that, but it's all about your strength. Like, I'm always advocate for that, that salespeople should go, like, if your strength is cold email, go with cold emails mostly. If you are really great at phones, go with phones. Some people like to send video prospecting. Some people like to send voice notes on LinkedIn and stuff like that. Now you can replicate that. There are some tools that are allowing you to clone your voice and record it like a voice note. If you want, you can go with that. Instead of recording a voice note for each person, you can use AI to help with that. Videos are slightly not there yet. They can replicate people will recognize that this is generated video, but there are some video tools that can, just like, you can record a template and then insert some personalization into there. So if you are into video prospecting, you can go with that. But other than that, for prospecting, Mm, I don't know much really great approaches that have worked for me specifically.
Anything different from Stephen or Hannah?
I was just going to ask what the question was again.
Have you employed or used AI in any form to help you with your strategies or tactics this summer?
Yeah, I mean specifically, yeah. I mean Yuri's covered most things. I think I think where people are not leveraging the kind of generative elements of AI is just helping them to kind of really just break down what something means. So often, if we take like that objection situation, it's just like, hey, this prospect just said this. What does that mean? Like, what kind of insights can you draw from that? And there's a lot of tools where they're summarizing things, right? So they're taking in transcriptions and it's just summarizing it, leveraging the same technology. And I think a lot of reps are probably overlooking how powerful that is. So I know there's a lot of like, hey, transcribe the meeting, then it kind of summarizes everything that's happening or the next actions and the kind of the gist of the conversations. That's sometimes things that we miss. We just can't process so much on a call. So there might be that one thing that you missed where someone said something that's quite compelling. So if there's any tools that can actually join your calls and transcribe it and interpret it better than some of the tools that were trying to do it 2 or 3 years ago, then I'd definitely be leveraging those. I've used those in calls. I just like downloaded the free like Chrome extension and being like, oh wow, I didn't see that one point, and that's actually quite compelling. I missed that. So I think leveraging those types of tools as you're kind of going through stuff, and even in this some of the quiet time, I'd say as a rep, I'd be going through some old meetings and just be like, what happened here? Like, did I miss something? Why they're ghosting me? And it will be like that one line where it says, I'm away, but I just didn't put an out of office on. So like, that's what you want to do. Like use AI to help you make understand things faster and then take faster actions and then help you prioritize your activities. That's what I'd say. But Yuri covered most of it.
Then for me, again, all the tools there that the team have said, the only one I use it for more when I am prospecting, it's not to get Chat GPT to write them. I still think they're there where they're just mass produced and it looks like 50 other AEs who are sending the same thing. And you still have to proofread it to say what that company does and why it'd be a good fit. And it can take just as long. Is for prospecting. So ChatSpot, which, I'll be upfront, is the HubSpot AI tool that's part of everyone's account if they have it. And I can be in there, tell me about and then just type in the company name, and it scrapes the internet to tell me here's what they are, here's what they do, here's the CEO, here's some of the decision makers, which it's pulling from LinkedIn, its own website, and very quickly then summarizes companies for me, which I can then use to target the right people. Yes, a lot of it is there in LinkedIn, but it gives you more revenue, turnover, headcount, a lot of stuff there as well.
Yeah, and I'll just add quickly to that point when we talked about preparation for when the out of office season. You can use those AI tools to help you generate some content ideas that you can start writing on LinkedIn. So a lot of sales reps, when they just start posting content, it's hard to start writing content and do it regularly. So AI tools can help you with that. Yeah.
Good tip. And just out of curiosity as well, is there a certain tool that you've used this summer that you can't live without, or it helped you become more effective? And you can't mention your own, so HubSpot and Woodpecker out of the question.
I go with Notion. Notion is helping me a lot.
Do you want to share how you've best utilized Notion, or how has it helped you?
Well, it's a lot of times I need to store a lot of stuff when I'm just going all over the place for my team specifically when I'm managing, and I need that draft place before I put it to the tools where then end up happening. So Notion is like pretty much a big draft of ideas and things for me that I then use to distribute to other tools.
Cool. How about Hannah?
No extra tools. I've got a very minimal tech stack, so to speak. But my most used app is actually probably two apps outside of like LinkedIn is probably Apple Notes. So I do that's my Notion. I'm still trying to fall in love with Notion. It's like really powerful, but almost too powerful for me. And then Calendly. I probably, because I just have so many meetings getting booked in my diary, I probably say those are the two apps that. But it's nothing different. I just think with tools like that, there's a lot of automation you can do outside, not Apple Notes, but something like a Calendly and the equivalents. But there's a lot of automation that happens in the back end that can just help you, like once a meeting's booked, create all of these workflows. And a lot of people don't use that functionality, which is crazy. It's there, and it's just rather than having to like book a meeting and then connect it to another platform to create another automation, you can just do really simple ones inside one platform.
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with having a minimal tech stack. It's more about how you use that to get your job done. And as they say, less is more at times. So nothing wrong with having a minimal tool stack there. How about Steven?
Yeah, for me, it's probably just like LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm an AE, a sales team lead, so I'm trying to book those meetings and stay on top of all the deals I have. So I'm still looking through Sales Navigator a lot, trying to source companies that, who's being active. If somebody's at least logging in, then I know who I can target and talk to. But yeah, probably outside of, HubSpot and our own tools, Sales Navigator and LinkedIn are still kind of the big one for me.
Actually, there's another tool that I started using more recently. I won't say the name because there's a lot of them, but just using a digital sales room tool. So really just, so of course that's an online environment that creates like a microsite to allow you to share and interact with your buyers outside of like sending emails and making phone calls. You can pull it in one space, but I found that to be really useful because if I, as an example, if I don't have if I haven't been able to secure like that next action in a diary with someone, just simply because there's just some things that need to be processed. It's just getting that analytics to know that people are looking at particular material that I've shared, that they're inside the environment, checking it out. I'm like, you just get those analytics. So you can think over a quiet period like now, where we were talking about, all of us have said like inform, do deep research, like share, move, take away the objective of trying to book a meeting, knowing that there's an environment that someone's just going to be going into and reviewing the stuff, you know where their attention is. So you can either build a story to go back to them at a later date, or you can interact with them in that space where they're like, in my own time, asynchronously, I'll go back and check it out. So I find those tools to be powerful. And I think I've got a couple of posts that I'm going to push out about that as well soon.
Very nice. I look forward to reading them and checking that out. We have a couple of questions from the audience. So the first question I have here is, Do you run any specific summer promos? We've seen it happen in B2C quite often, but does it work for B2B if you do it?
For me, I'm in the B2B, so I have both sides too, really, on that. But like install-based selling, so our current customers, we have more insight into how they're using our platform, what tools they're using, what ones would very well complement others, and I can also see then, who's online, who's logged online in the past 7 days. So, I hope they're not on the beach logging into HubSpot and that they are actually enjoying their time off. So one, I know if I call them, I'm probably going to get an answer, or send them an email, they may respond. But looking at what promotions we are running and what package bundle would best suit them, and say, hey, I see you're using this, this, and this. These other tools complement them very well. Here's what it would give you in the business. Would love to, because it's probably their quiet time too, if it's the summer, depending on their end bit. So, like, do you want to grab a coffee? We spend 20 minutes just kind of chatting to see if this is a good fit. If it is, then we book more time. So, you're not getting a casual commitment at the beginning to then hopefully explore deeper and bring it on. But that's something I'm doing with, like, the B2B, looking at customers who are already using it and just trying to expand their usage and cross sell.
Interesting. Would anyone say anything differently there?
Yeah, Yuri.
No, Hannah, you go, please.
I was just going to say, so going into this year, what I was trying to do with both clients and myself is just think about what, for the majority of organizations, where are they in their financial year? And they're pretty much in the planning stages, right? The really large organizations are going to have year end in January, because a lot of the tech companies shift theirs. So that the thought there is they're halfway through, now they're looking ahead. So they're in planning season and in budgeting season. So I try to develop tools that are going to help them with that. So for me personally, for my own consulting, I've got just a go-to-market checklist and a review that they can take. It's like 5 minutes, right? So it's just a tool that someone can use to say, okay, where are my gaps? This is going to give me 20, 30% of the information I might need to start to form some of my thought processes around forward planning. And it's gone down really well. And I just provide a bit more guidance on that. And it's just a free resource that's been quite useful. So just stuff like that, thinking it's not always about getting people into a meeting. We've got this, we just always have to be in a meeting to provide value. That's just not the case. There's so many ways that we can do that without having people have to commit 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and an hour of their time for us to not always do a very good job. So let them do what they need to do. And when they get that insight, be there to support them. That's kind of my idea.
Yeah, and for me specifically, discounts during the out of office season, I'll talk from the perspective of SMBs, because this is basically where Woodpecker's bread and butter is. We've tried a couple of times. We've seen some companies going and finalizing those deals, specifically but it's a little bit different ball game compared to Black Friday or holidays, Christmas holidays discounts. When you're out of office, sometimes a push. So it's like, hey, I know you'll be out of you'll be going on vacation in 2 weeks, because this is what I know from our conversations. Would it make any difference if I just introduce a 10% discount, 15% discount, and if we can sign if we can sign the contract, if we can buy the tool before you're going on vacation? Asking those kind of questions might be helpful, but I really haven't seen or us introducing a big strategy specifically for that, because what's the difference for us if we close the deal right now for a 15% discount, or when that person is back in 2 weeks? We're not really under that big of pressure for because of the quota, because of the market differences. There are so many people there in the SMBs compared to the enterprise. So this is our approach.
If Deepak, just before, I know you're moderating, we've all answered, so normally it's back to you. But I just on Yuri, just a +1. I know my one was more about cross selling and not a particular, hey, we're running a promotion. It's about what promotions we have and just trying to get people to adapt to them. But what I find, especially in the summer, look, I'm a sales rep. I've done some Hail Marys in my time to try and get a deal over the line, or to, earn a President's Club or whatever it may be. But doing it in the summer, I often find it's that, well, it's even the decision is not mine alone, and the people I need to speak with are on vacation. So then they still expect that discount in September. And I say to them, look, it was only a summer thing. And it's like, oh, so do you not want the deal now? We're willing to move ahead. And then you get arguing about this extra 10% from a deal you were probably going to get. So I feel like you can sometimes be robbing from your future self by trying to throw discount at a deal that's not yet ready to close.
Yeah. I was going to say as well, like, just back to thinking, there's so much pre-planning and pre-thinking you can do around stuff like this. If you've got prospects in your pipeline, you can be thinking about, if you think about June, July, and August, when's your quietest month, right? Ideally, they're going to say August, and say that's kind of like set up and change management time. Like if you can position it to say, while you're away, we're just going to get you set up in those months, then you get them to start getting closer to kind of that first point of value, right? That time to value quicker, because during their quiet months, you're doing the setting up and all the background work and change management. Don't worry, I'll do the legwork. So when you are back in action, it's go. What you don't want to do is lose a month or two trying to set things up when you're really busy, because that's when it's hardest. So I think if we just like think a little bit ahead of time and help shape their perspective a bit, it's like, oh, actually that makes a bit of sense. It's not even a discount. Let's just do it earlier because it's easier for me. So I think we have to just think more about like literally how they're using their time and how we can help them save some of that. That's always going to be a win.
I couldn't agree more, and that's something we've done very well at Dealfront, I believe. Well, prior to our merger, at least on the lead feeder side, we'd utilize the summer to kind of get clients onboarded, coach, and train, just because there came a degree of that training before they could get the most out of the tool. And we'd use the summer, the period of downtime, to get that out the way. So when September came around, they could hit the ground running and start getting their results pretty much immediately. So there is value in trying to see how you can help them save time here and there. I can see quite a lot of questions coming in from the audience, which is great. So let's crack on with those. How do you handle the response, "I'm currently reviewing your competitors"?
There are different approaches, but like circling back to what we've talked before is just being curious. There are different ways you can tackle that. Like one thing is, if they're viewing the competitor, you can go with something like, oh, they're great, especially at, and you can point out what they're great at. And if you'd be open, I can share with you maybe 3 ways we differ from them. That way you'll have more overview of the market. And if you won't like what I've presented, you can be confident you are currently you've selected the best tool on the market. Or if somebody goes with something like, I understand, like completely get it. Just curious, what are the things you're liking there? Like, why is that tool really like interesting for you? Or what are the things you're looking to improve? Just being curious helps a lot.
And anything else you'd add?
It's so funny because I literally have a post that I put out today on that. I think you saw it.
That's why I asked.
There you go, right? And one yesterday and one the day before, but intentionally, because I know it's a question that's on a lot of people's mind. But extending from what Yuri was saying, it's the biggest thing with competitive situations is understanding what a prospect's trying to compare, because you'll be surprised, right? They'll be like, it's flashy and it does all of this, but there's going to be like this one very specific thing. And it might be like how it integrates because they've got a fussy team around UI. Like, just find out, firstly, if you have done all the background checks, what's triggered you to kind of look into them. It's great that you're doing that. I guess you're serious about making a decision on this, except like you can get all of that type salesy questions out of the way, but you really want to know if you're looking at all of the things that that the competitors have showed you so far, or that you're learning, what's the 3 things that stand out for you that you think are going to be the most compelling to help you solve or reach that desired outcome? Because when they raise that out from all of the noise, all the AI and this and that, it's like, here's the 3 things. Actually, great question. And you're like, brilliant. Let me talk to exactly what we do there. Or out of those 3, number 2, we don't do. That's just not our sweet spot. Is that a deal breaker? Does that mean that we can't support you in the way that you're hoping? And it might be, which is okay, but you want to know now rather than 3 months down the line because you didn't ask the question. So always the first thing I do is get out the things that are important, and then you talk to those. Otherwise, you could speak about 5, 6, 7 things, and it's only one thing that they cared about. And all the other things they tapped out. So that's a post on my page. Go check it out.
I'll be sure I'll pick it up after this as well. But yeah, for me, it depends on when in the conversation I find this out or how far in. So if it's somebody I'm trying to prospect into, and it's like, oh, hey, this HubSpot, great. We're actually looking at Salesforce now, right? There's no point in saying a competitor. We'd all know who we'd probably be talking to. I go negative straight away and start telling them how terrible they are, but I joke. I'm like, great. How far into the evaluation are you? And try and determine, are they weeks into a process with them, or are they just starting it out? And then from there, the answer is different. If they're weeks into a process, Salesforce or the competitor has probably known that, look, if they're evaluating us, there's every likelihood they're evaluating others. Let's try and feature block them into our ecosystem. So let's say, well, these are the 1 or 2 bits that we have that we know our competitors don't, and re-emphasize to them how important these tools are. So if they're evaluating us, then all of a sudden they're just this one feature they keep hearing about we don't have. That can be challenging. And you need to try and change that mindset to be like, well, do you need that, or are they telling you need it? If it's a very early stage, then fantastic. I just really, at that point, I found the best thing I can do is just come across as consultative, not trying to be like, I'd never want to really bring up the other competitors other than, yeah, look, I've heard great things. I know a lot of people are very happy using them. Here's what we can do. And I just want to know what you need. I'll present to you how we solve for that. And then ultimately, if price and timelines and budget suit, you're going to make the best decision for the business and go with it that way. But I do think if they're weeks into or even months into a big competitor, make sure you haven't been boxed out and they've created a table of requirements that you're now competing against.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm just conscious of time, and we have a couple more questions, which is great. So I'd like to dive into the next one. Relating specifically to the DACH market. So cold emails and cold calls are almost illegal. And how can one still reach out to potential clients?
I'll answer that. They are illegal. You just need to do a few tweaks here and there. I know a lot of people from DACH who are cold calling, cold emailing, and they are still not in prison and still working fine, living jail free. So it's all about going around that GDPR thing. And there are different ways you can tackle that. One of the simple ways for a cold call, or for a cold email, sorry, is that you just include a footer under your signature, presenting ask your legal team to write that. Who knows how to write the footers, but pretty much it's something like, I've contacted you because I really believe your business can benefit from that, and you're wishing for me to stop emailing you. Please just write unsubscribe, write stop, whatever, if you include a link, and that should get you. And from an email side, you should be good on that perspective, because on the legal side, that's the requirement. As for the cold calls, we don't do that much of cold calls in Woodpecker in the DACH region, so it's harder for me to explain that. But I do know a lot of people that are cold calling, and they're doing it perfectly fine. I mean, come on, it's 2023. How do you think businesses function? You get right data, and people are contacting you. So, this is where I'll stop.
I know from the competitive questions we get off the time is, are we GDPR compliant? If I'm using HubSpot, how am I aware? And it is that. I think the confusion is, you're still under GDPR laws. You're allowed to reach out, but if they tell you to stop, then you have to stop. And then you have to record that they've asked not to be contacted. So that unsubscribe down the bottom, you're allowed to email them. If they click the unsubscribe, make sure internally that's logged somewhere and they're removed from future lists. And then again, not sure through Zing, which I know is the big LinkedIn in the DACH region, if you're connecting to people that way, and then ask them, hey, I know we're talking on this, do you mind if I reach out? And then if you have some sort of communication to say you're allowed to send them emails, then that will cover you then too.
Yeah, you want to make sure that footer piece is pretty key as well. I mean, it goes above you, so definitely get the legal team to write it, but you just want to make sure that you have legitimate interest, right? So and you specify that, like, we've identified you because we use various different data sources that are GDPR compliant, because we believe, we have a legitimate belief that you will benefit from these services. That's kind of like the outreach thing. I think from a what I'd be doing if I was in like demand gen, is I'd be going to spaces where people are volunteering information, like LinkedIn, and I would be making sure that we're really inviting people to give us their data in those regions, right? So putting on high quality events, creating high quality content. Gated, a bit annoying, but like to some degree you're going to have to do that. But by doing that, then you're building quite organically more additional data points, and then you work with organizations like Dealfront where you can keep that clean, right? And that's the aim. So I think it needs to be clean. That's one thing, because that's where you get a lot of privacy challenges, because it has to be up to date by law. Which also means that you get a bit of a buy-in as to, this is why I still have your data every time you move around companies, because we just keep updating it. So legitimate interest, footers, and making sure that you kind of understand how to have the talk track with prospects, so they're not shouting at you.
Perfect. And we have one more question here. Did you notice any specific sales slowdown patterns when it comes to different regions across the world?
I work the Nordic region, so Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland, of course, for everyone there. So I've had July has been a very quiet time. I think a lot of Sweden and Norway will take that month as a kind of big block. Now they're all back now, and August generally picks up for big Septembers and end of year, because they've all been off for a month. So all those projects have kind of all shifted. But yeah, for me, that's the only kind of region I can speak on. But I do find July has been a tough one to get through to a lot of people.
I think the biggest difference in pretty much every region has to go with all of those things that happened in 2023. It's like a lot of like so. What I've noticed right now in prospecting data, you need to have a really great quality prospecting lists, because tenure in our roles, a lot of people got fired, unfortunately, and that's really bad. And sometimes you're just, even though when the prospecting data was valid when the tool got it like 2 months ago, right now maybe that person is not working there anymore. So this is what I've noticed. We keep updating the prospecting data quite often, just to see and look on LinkedIn where whether the person is still working there. Um, I mean, though the biggest differences like also relate to those things that were happening in the market. Like some people are like, obviously with tool rationalization, people hiring and stuff like that. Then goes like optimization of like product productivity in teams. That's the people started focusing on that thing. In some regions, like especially in the US, people are asking more questions like, "Hey, hire guys on the AI side. What things for AI are you working right now?" Because we're currently trying to see like the tools that we can try to leverage AI. So I see those questions popping up in the States specifically. But other than that, not that many changes.
Nothing significant to report.
Great. So that covers all the questions submitted by the audience, and we're just about to hit the hour mark, but we have one final question here for myself. And if there's one takeaway that you'd like to leave your audience with, what would that be?
I would say always be prospecting. I've never heard a rep doing bad who's has had a big pipeline of people to reach out to. They're always doing good.
Go ahead, Hannah. Sorry, I think like we both went there at the same time.
I just say like, aim to be the rep that your prospects trust enough to tell you all of the dirty laundry, right? Just so that when you do get to months where it's quiet or things are going a bit south in their organization, they inform you and give you like the route to kind of like get over it, get around it, and just keep it real. So I that's like my aim. Always try to be the rep that your prospects trust the most.
Love it.
And for me, just resilience. You're going to get a lot of no's and you're going to get a lot of out of office bounce backs. But to your point, just if you have a lot of pipeline, you can afford to take the no's. There's been days where I felt like I haven't had any success in getting further in a step with people. But then the next day turns around, and you just got to ride the highs and the lows and stay steady. But just be resilient, keep doing the work, and trust your process.
Great pointers indeed to keep in mind. Well, that concludes our webinar, and just something for the audience. If they'd like to get in touch with you, how should they best do that? Do you have any preference in terms of how they should reach out to you?
LinkedIn. My email address is on there, but reps still ask me in LinkedIn DMs, can I have your email address? I'm like, it's in my profile. Everything you need is on my profile. And I've got a lot of videos on there, so you can watch that and have some fun as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn for me. Happy for anybody to reach out on LinkedIn if they have any questions or anything I can help with.
Likewise, LinkedIn. I'll also leave on LinkedIn my contact data. So where I send to people, hey, if you want, just call or email me. Like, I'll just look for your approaches. Maybe I'll learn something new.
Everyone's a LinkedIn message away.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Hannah, Steve, and Yuri for joining this webinar today and sharing everything that you did. I'm sure everybody got a lot of value out of it. And judging by some of the messages that I'm seeing, it does seem like it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this webinar by Dealfront. And I look forward to catching you all very soon. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.